now, and then I'll get to where I think things are going.
Yeah.
But in terms of the now, you're talking just because the way you're talking about like sales and marketing and how they don't usually get along, and I think when you're creating content of any kind, one of the considerations once you know your audience is also to know where they are, meeting them where they are. And when people talk about the sales, funnel, where are they in the journey? Because your story may be different when you're getting them awareness than when they're considering yes or no to buy. And so, and usually you can have more time the longer you've gotten them engaged. But I have a really easy answer for what I believe is the future in terms of engagement. And to me, I've been repeating this a lot, which is everyone says, that content is king. And I go, yeah, but everyone knows it's the woman, the queen that runs everything. So who is the queen? And I say, well, content is king and engagement is queen.
Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. Look, I am excited. First of all, the summer is here. We've had this Arizona-like heat in Chicago, and it's about time because I'm tired of the cold weather. I'm trying to get a little bit more tan, so I've been out in the sun. I've done my exercise for the day. I'm super excited about my guests. But if you want to keep seeing amazing leaders, amazing influencers, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the YouTube page at YouTube at CV. That is Cody Vernon, space K Kelly. Also, go to the website, www.cbnkglobal.store, where the best fitness supplements are. I got a couple with me. Best pre-workout on the market, Super Power. Get yours today. I also released this summer Meta Manla and Warrior Thirst. And for those stressful times, you know what we have for you. No worries. Designed for that anti-anxiety formula. Connect with me, Instagram, CBNK33, and on the business page at CBNK_global, TikTok at CBNK And with that being said, I'm going to tell you about my guest. So, I saw him. I'm connected to a few channels that, refer guests, and they have their qualifications listed out. And I, peruse through it every now and then and try to see, who do I really want to connect with, who voice do I think really needs to be highlighted and heard. So I came across profile and I was interested. I was like, oh, TEDx speaker, because I think TEDx is kind of like the forum of, this would be Mars Hill if this was the year, 30 AD or 50 AD or the Pantheon or something like that. It's a very just amazing platform and forum where they bring on thought leaders to really discuss various topics. Had the opportunity myself to do TEDx Linux Village, smaller kind of TEDx format and whatnot. And it was really cool. And even though it was during COVID, so I had to do it digitally and on a screen like this, but, still the opportunity. So I wanted to connect with him, share his story, his insight, and the amazing just work that he does. So with that being said, please welcome Geoffrey. Geoffrey, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Cody. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate being here.
No problem. The pleasure is all mine. Look, I am jealous. You got to stand on stage, the real stage with the real
red
background.
Dot.
Right. And with the TEDx background and everything. Walk me through the experience. How did you get there? How did you land the op? And then what was the feeling like when you're like, I'm about to be in front of the people, not just in the auditorium, but the millions that are going to see this presentation to follow?
It was great. So I'm very lucky in a couple different ways. In terms of my journey, so I've done a lot of presenting, as part of my job, and even when it wasn't part of my job. And I developed over time a passion of sharing the message of the power of story. So that was something I started to talk about more and more, and wanted to start to kind of bring it into a format that I could share with people, and they would be able to get something from it. And I've been a big fan of TED for a long time, and there's all these amazing presentations that people are sharing, and I've watched tons of them, and I'm like, I want to see if I can share my piece. At the time, I looked for different opportunities, and there was two that came up that were kind of local. I'm from Philadelphia, and the Philly TEDx was kind of defunct, so I was like, it's a shame I can't do one in my local town. So I looked in one in the Jersey Shore and one in the Lehigh Valley, which is where I ended up doing it. The one in the Shore, they had just were about to do there, so there was no opportunity. And I applied, and so I'm sure you may have gone. Every TEDx is slightly different, but I applied, and how many I don't know I was. They then narrow it down, and they do an interview, and then they narrowed it down, and they talk some more, and then they finally. So it was a process. But what I was really happy about was the woman who was in charge of the TEDx was really keen to take whatever you were doing, make sure you had some sort of message, and then try and elevate it to make it worthy of her stage of the conference. And so I had an idea, but it wasn't fully formed. And the process working with her really took something that I thought was pretty good to much, much better. And then the process going, I was also lucky when I got to the TEDx and I saw who else was on there are 5 other presenters. I actually knew one of them. Just happened to be a woman named Jem Groover. This was her second TEDx, and she had been on my podcast, and just a phenomenal person. So I think that put me at ease a little bit about, oh wait, I know someone. And but I went through kind of my ritual, whether it be from some essential oils to the playlist beforehand. But the real work happened beforehand, before I got there, practicing and really knowing it in a way that would hopefully. And then the adrenaline kicks in when you go out on a stage, and I love being on stage in front of people. You feed off them, and so I got there, and I'm feeling really good. And then when that first reaction that you're hoping for comes, and you get the laugh, then it just propels you. And so for me, I even got a laugh somewhere I didn't think I was gonna. I wasn't expecting a laugh, and so it was for me. I felt really fortunate and very grateful for that opportunity. And the other thing is it lives on. So it's out there now, and people see it, and I feel really good about the message I shared, and it continues to be as a professional speaker. I've taken a good chunk from my TEDx, but I'm a continuous learner, so I keep trying to find ways to improve the delivery. I just did a training program with the incredible Amy and Michael Port. Heroic Public Speaking, they're phenomenal. And so it's always about trying, to sharpen that blade to be even better. But it was a great experience, and I feel like I just keep building on it.
I agree. You had me thinking and reminiscing back to my little experience. First of all, you have to apply. I thought there was just like a TEDx recruiter that was going around and going on LinkedIn and just like snatching people. I was like, that's how they find it. And then you have to actually apply to be there, and then you have to send in basically a 2-minute video of how the speech would kind of work. And then they review it, and then you got to send in the written form of it, And so that is interesting to write it out because depending on how you present, if you're more of a improvisational speaker or free flowing, for me, growing up in church, 98% of that is, I don't mean like improvisational, but it's not as scripted, right? So that was interesting trying to develop that path, journey. And
I don't know if you're familiar with Freestyle Love Supreme. It's a Broadway show that's all improv, hip hop. It's phenomenal. Lin-Manuel Miranda was one of the co-creators of it before Hamilton. And one of the other co-founder, Anthony Venziali, did a TED talk that was improvised. And he's just amazing. And he had slides. He didn't know, they just put up slides and he had to make it fit into the theme. So, he had some skills there, and he's just phenomenal. I didn't leave much for improv. And so, cause I thought, I don't want to, and I think there's a difference between, and we talked about this in some of the speaker training. You don't ever want to wing a speech. I agree that you don't want to wing a speech. You can know it well enough and have it scripted enough, and then make some tweaks and choices in the moment based on reactions and based on things. But I think it's the skill of improv is phenomenal, and I would say I dabble a tiny bit when I have the opportunity, but I'm not confident enough to just riff in some of the ways I see some of these artists do. But it's fun. It's fun to just get up there and yeah, it's an experience. People are all watching you, which, they joke about public speaking being the biggest fear, even more than death. For me, I just happen to be one of those, it sounds like you, who, I get a buzz from it. And I think it's because I see it as an opportunity to have an impact.
Yeah.
And that's, when you believe in what you're doing and sharing with people, and you can see that can actually impact them and what they're doing, it makes all the difference.
I agree. I think all impact purpose, when it's a purpose-driven decision, that helps with the anxiety behind it, because like the goal isn't to win the best speech award, as you mentioned. I don't want that placard. The goal.
I'll take it.
You'll take it. The goal is to create some type of.
You don't want to give it to
transformation,
me,
right?
I'll graciously accept it.
Not that it's not cool. Not that if somebody's like, man, I really enjoyed it. It's just that, wasn't
the primary. It's not the primary reason you do it.
So I totally agree. I think the other thing is, I've never met someone who is, to me, fantastic at speaking in whatever format that they do it, that doesn't have this equally pushing idea or fear that, you're going to forget everything. Like I always say, like, it's crazy. The biggest fear I have is like, I'll forget my name. Like in the moment, like I'll just be like, yeah, my name is, all right, guys, that's all I got. Like just this thing that this ultimate, failure that yet somehow pushes you to do it, because it's like, no, I have this, and this internal dialogue is really the challenge that you have to have.
Yeah, I think, again, one of the things I remind myself is that when you're giving a speech, no one really knows your speech. So if you mess up, they don't know you messed up. So you got to kind of roll with it. And sometimes it's okay. But I do believe you mess up less and you have less anxiety if you are prepared. If you put in the work ahead of time to really know it. It doesn't mean that the nerves aren't there, because I know speakers of all shapes and sizes, super successful, still have that. Even performers, there's something, but they're able to chat. The good ones are able to channel it and use that energy in a way to make their performance or their speech better. And that's what I'm always shooting for.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's change.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business, right? Your strategy. I always say that to be a good speaker, you have to have something to speak about. And that area is usually their work that they're dedicated to. And pretty much they're relating the conversation that they have internally to you. They're communicating the Monday through Friday, right? In a manner that you can receive it, right? Without experiencing. So tell me about that business strategy for you.
Yeah. And mine is very intentional. Some people may speak on a topic and it's not exactly aligned with what they do. But there's usually some sort of crumbs of alignment. For me, it's right on point. So I speak about the power of story and visual communication, and I produce visual storytelling as my day job. So for me, it's about how it all comes under the umbrella of what are we trying to do as human beings? We're trying to connect with people. And the best way to connect is by having effective communication. And I believe that story is the best way to do that, and visual stories are the best way to tell stories. So what I do is I produce video and animation to try and craft that story for that business to help them share their message with the people that matter, their audience. So it's nice that they're aligned in that way. And so when I work with clients, I'm always thinking about, what's the right story? Who's your audience? What do they care about? And then how do you connect the dots?
Do you think that visual and animation or storytelling for organizations, right, is I won't say effective, but is it a challenge? Because it seems like, what's up? I'm super pumped. Just got done with another workout. It's your boy CVMK33, connecting on Instagram and on the business page, CVMK_global. You know how I get through it. You know how I get that pump looked. Best pre-workout on the market, www.cvmkglobal.store. there's the LinkedIn audience, and maybe that's a different and that is not that maybe it isn't, but it is a different audience than the consumer audience, right? Like the LinkedIn audience is, you know, the business owners, the mid management and up, trying to relate their information. But if they're trying to tell their story, they're telling it to the prospect, and the prospect at the most base level is a consumer. Does the prospect see the animation as a way to gain insight and information, or do they see the animation as a form of entertainment, and therefore you get trapped under the entertainment guise?
So I'm going to unpack that a little bit because you asked a couple different things there. In terms of communicating your message, no matter what context, so whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's a B2B brand or a B2C brand, sharing a story is going to still be effective. Now, one distinction I want to point out is like, so I always say, and the science behind shows us that you're going to have a better chance of people understanding what you do, what your value is, and remembering what it is you are offering if you take those facts and figures, features and benefits, and wrap them in a story. So it's not an either or. You either tell a story or you tell them the information. It's a matter of, you know, combining the two. But when you just share information, you're not connecting with people in a way that's going to make them interested in what you're doing or remembering what it is. That's what all the studies have shown. In terms of animation specifically, because there's an argument people might make saying, well, yeah, I can see doing video on LinkedIn, but animation I don't think would work because it's not professional. And I would say all you need to do is think about, well, did you enjoy watching that? And looking, you know, there's a trend in commercials to do animation. Now that's consumer based, but as you said, we're humans. So we're looking for pattern interrupts, you know, disruption to the feed. You know, we're feeding, whether it's LinkedIn or any other social media platform, we are all suffering from what I call infobesity. There's so much information. You need to find a way to break the pattern so someone will stop and pay attention. I think animation still has that opportunity because it's different. So not many people are using animated videos on LinkedIn. And I think if it's done properly, it can be super effective because people are like, wait, what? This isn't supposed to be here. And then if you capture their attention, because that's what we're trying to do, you know, capture that fleeting attention that humans continue to diminish every year, how much attention we have. And having a pattern disrupt like an animated video can really help to get people. Now, in terms of the story you're telling, you asked about, like, is that going to be entertainment? So I believe, and the kind of content that I produce is what I like to refer to as edutainment.
Edutainment.
So it's edutainment.
Heine Gilmore.
Yeah. Yeah. Not my. I wish I had invented the word, but sadly, it was already there. But it captures my sensibility, which is, yes, you need to capture their attention, and there's an element of that where you need to entertain people. You know, you need to give them a reason, that attention, grabbing, keeping their attention. But you can't just entertain them and go, song and dance, if you're not providing the value of what you have to offer and how you help. And a lot of that is, when you start talking about, consumers and versus LinkedIn people, I have something I developed called the 11th Commandment. Know thy audience. So it's really important to understand who is your audience and what do they care about? What's their pain? What's keeping them up at night? And making sure that the story you're sharing about how you help people with your product service starts there with what it is that's going to help them. Because if you don't tap into what's important to them, they're not going to pay attention. They're going to move on. So it's a combination of hooking them just enough to say, hey, are you suffering from, do you have this problem? Yeah, I do have that problem. Great. Here's how we can help. And here's how it'll, change things. So
I like that. You hit up on a couple of things. And I have to unpack because edutainment is a word. So Pine and Gilmore's experience economy, this word starts popping up, edutainment, right? This escapism through the art of education, which is a form of entertainment. But then you mentioned something called infobesity. And I've never heard it. I've described it. I said it was just too much. There's too much data out there, right? But I think you really nailed it on the head. It's almost to the point that the data has become gluttonous and we're trying to distinguish between what is good calorie data and what is bad calorie data.
Mhm.
How when you're talking about that 11th commandment, obviously, LinkedIn, and I don't even know, and this is I don't even know if LinkedIn has the same, obviously that we think LinkedIn has still the same standards, but the more and more I see on LinkedIn, it's slowly becoming Instagram. It just, nobody has taken their shirt off and posted a photo, right? Like that's really the only barrier between the two. I feel like it's like, it still has this element, but it's slowly becoming more social because business-tainment, right? Business is a form of social activity. So here we go. How do you pierce and connect with the audience so that they don't feel like this is just added calories?
Yeah. I think, again, I referenced it a second ago, which is speaking to what it is they care about.
Yeah.
So that in the business context, so not saying, oh, do you care about, chocolate ice cream? No, that's not going to be something that's going to matter to them within the business context. So if you have a product or service that's going to help them with productivity, just use an example, and, are you finding yourself busy but not productive? We can help you with our new system of blah blah blah. So I think it's about capturing that attention, because infobesity, which again sadly I did not coin that phrase, it's been used, but it's a synonym for information overload. There's more information being created as we speak than ever before. The acceleration of what we're doing is phenomenal and overwhelming. And so how do we cut through the noise that we're trying to do, eat those good, business calories, as you like to say? And I think it's about story, because story will help people, enable them to get their attention. When people are told a story, there's a rise in cortisol, and that's the flight or fight hormone. So it actually is telling your brain, hey, someone's telling you a story, pay attention. So already you're getting them to pay attention. And in terms of making sure that once you got their attention, you're not losing it by being frivolous, by being not addressing what it is that matters to them. And so that story has to be helping them along the journey to understanding you've got a problem and we can help you, and here's how. So I think it's about understanding, if the audience, are certain kinds of people that are on LinkedIn. You can do targeting in certain ways. But then once you know who they are, then you craft a story knowing, reverse engineering the story based on how you help people, how you serve people to solve the problems that they have. And if you're addressing that, they're going to pay attention. And then if they're like, oh my God, this is what the impact it can have if I work with someone, that's you're in.
I like it. I like it. Knowing how to address that specific entity's pain, right?
Yep.
And not assuming that just because they're similar that they share the same, pathology of pain, that everyone's pain is unique, and creating a story for that. So people might see your work as disruptive. They might see your work as replacement in some aspect from a marketing standpoint. Where do you see the future of business going? Because, these 15 to 30 second, clips is driving the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a business, and let's take traditional business models where there's a sales side and then there's a marketing side, and like any traditional business, the sales and the marketing really don't collaborate that well. And here you are saying, I can take their initial effort and capsulize it. Where is the future going?
I'm going to answer that in two different ways. Right. One is about the now, and then I'll get to where I think things are going.
Yeah.
But in terms of the now, just because the way you're talking about like sales and marketing and how they don't usually get along. And I think when you're creating content of any kind, one of the considerations, once you know your audience, is also to know where they are, meeting them where they are. And when people talk about the sales, funnel, where are they in the journey? Because your story may be different when you're getting them awareness than when they're considering yes or no to buy. And so, and usually you can have more time the longer you've gotten them engaged. But I have a really easy answer for what I believe is the future. in terms of engagement. And to me, I've been repeating this a lot, which is everyone says, that content is king. And I go, yeah, but everyone knows it's the woman, the queen that runs everything. So who is the queen? And I say, well, content is king and engagement is queen. Because you can have great content, but if it's not engaging your audience in ways that you want it to, no one's going to care. So it's about getting there, making sure that they're engaging with it in a meaningful way. And I think that's part of the reason why stories are effective and why visuals are effective, because they have higher levels of engagement based than other alternative things. With that said, and I want to lean into this, and I haven't unfortunately had as much time. I've dabbled a little bit. To me, what's the future is, because again, we have short attention spans and a need to be self-interested, is interactive video. I think that's what's going to develop, because it enables people to be the ones navigating their journey. So that when someone comes to look at, and I'll use a bank as an example, they come to the bank and they watch a video, you have an ad for a bank and it's like, hey, welcome to Acme Bank. What are you interested in? It's like mortgage, auto insurance, deposit account. And then they are the ones making the decision and then getting new content based on that. And so you have these branching trees that enable them to the choose your own adventure of interactive video, along with pop-ups that they can click. The ability for people to actually engage with the video, I think, is going to be where the future ends up, so that it can be personalized even further, so that it will enable people to take the journey, and the sales and marketing function will integrate into your experience of exploring what it is you may do. And I've seen a few interactive videos, and they are just they're telling the story, and you want to keep going, because they have these little cliffhangers of interest. And you're like, oh yeah, I do want to know more about that, or oh no, I don't care about that, I care about this. And so it takes you along, connecting your dots to where you want to go.
I like it. And I've never interactive video. I have never heard of it from a business standpoint. I've only heard of it from an entertainment standpoint, because video games tried to go down this path. Batman. I'm a huge video gamer, and basically they created I think it's Arkham Asylum 2, where instead of it being a storyline, each decision had its own path, and you had to decide between A, B, and C, and then that would unfold other sequences of events. So I've never seen it in the business, because what's crazy is that,
well, it's the future. I told you, I'm giving a look into the future. I think that you haven't seen much of it yet, but you're going to, especially when you think about, virtual reality and the metaverse and things like that, where it's immersive, and then people want to have control, or at least the illusion of control, when they're engaging in, connecting with the brand. That's why I think it's going to really take off. It may be, 5 years out until some of the adoption of some of these technologies, but I think it can be used today effectively and really help people. And it's something that I'm looking to get more into as I go on.
I like it. My last question. I appreciate your time and being here. Would you say that entertainment is a foreshadow for business? And the reason why I say this is because even when we think of sports and how franchises are run, salary increases, the conflict that exists within organizations, it almost seems like entertainment is 20 years ahead of business, but business is slowly creeping up to that, because at the end of the day, entertainment is business, right? So, and this might be a little bit nuanced. Can we admit that this entertainment field is just a overview of what's happening on Wall Street?
Here's how I'd answer it. I think that because of the nature of that industry, it has enabled innovation in some ways that certain industries certainly are slower. So I would say that in some of the ways that entertainment is pushing the boundaries, because they're entertainment, they're not serious business, they're enabled to kind of push things in a way that maybe insurance wouldn't. or law might not, and anything regulatory, is definitely going to be slower. That being said, I think there are other industries beside and within industries. There are certain companies and organizations that are pushing right along with them. That are trying, whether it's there's a chain of restaurants here that their training is done on VR. So you become a new member, you go through training, and it takes you through first person, through a model of their business. It's really cool, and so more of that's going to continue to happen. And again, I think one of the things that's important, and that I think the element of entertainment industry has, is the need to keep people engaged.
Right.
Engagement is such an overused word, but it's the right word. It means that someone is paying attention and cares about what they're doing in a way, and that they're giving the attention and time and investment to the activity. And I think businesses will continue to need to find ways to do that with their employees. There continue to be huge percentage of the population that are not disengaged, or I should not engaged, but actively disengaged.
Yeah.
And I think the more we're able to change that, in terms of building a culture within an organization, finding ways to share the story. See, I got to bring it all full circle. To share the story so that everyone understands that mission and purpose, like a good speaker has. Organizations have, their why. You're going to have to find ways to do that. I think there is that edutainment, business-tainment, I like that. That's going to be necessary more and more as we go. And those that fail to do it are going to fall behind. That's I believe.
I like it. Geoffrey, man, where can the people connect with you? Where can they support you, follow you, hire your services? Where can they connect with you?
So the two easiest places are for visual content development, 9dotsmedia.com. As a speaker, it's ggklien.com. And then from those, you can find me on all the social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. It's either 9dotsmedia usually or GG Klien. GG Klien on Instagram is where I'm probably the most active in terms of sharing my little animated content. And LinkedIn's where I'm most active when people want to connect with me. But I'm out there. Just look for me.
Y'all connect with Geoffrey, 9dots Media, and at GG Klien on Instagram. Hit him up, follow him, say, look, I dig what you're saying. I believe in the future of business, and I need this interactive visual animation for my business strategy going forward. If you want to keep seeing amazing content, amazing leaders, amazing influencers, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the YouTube page at CV Space K, Instagram at CVMK33, and on the business page at CVMK_global, TikTok CVMK Globe, and go to the website. I said it before, where the best supplements are, at www.cvmkglobal.store. Until next time, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.